Hello everyone and welcome to the Smithsonian Institution National Air and Space Museum Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center, located in Chantilly, Virginia. My name is Doug Baldwin and I'm the Chief of Education Initiatives here at the National Air and Space Museum. I would like to invite you to take a walk with me, a walk to Discovery. We will start our walk to Discovery at the entrance to the James S. McDonnell Space Hangar. The space hangar is named after the McDonnell of the McDonnell Douglas Corporation. Some things to keep in mind as we take a look at Discovery. We cannot help but notice how filthy Discovery looks. Actually, this is by design. We wanted Discovery to look like it would have, having just landed from a successful mission. Technically, Discovery is referred to as an orbiter, or orbital vehicle. An orbital vehicle is but one of four elements that make up the Space Transportation System. The four elements are the orbiter, the external tank, the solid rocket boosters, and the Space Shuttle main engines. Ready? Let's go. Discovery was the third orbiter built, behind Columbia and Challenger. Discovery spent 365 days in orbit, completing 39 missions. This is the most of any orbiter. One of the first things to notice about Discovery is that it is tall. At 57 feet, it would not fit through either end of the main aviation hangar. Discovery would need a hangar of its own. As we approach Discovery, we get a good shot of the flight deck windows, the gray nose of tough, heat-resistant material, and the three large cylinder thrusters that make up part of the reaction control system. As we approach the right nose of Discovery, we get a look at the black tiles that make up part of the thermal protection system. These tiles are made of very light material called silica fibers, which are made from quartz sand. 90% of the volume of each tile is empty space. The rest is silica fiber. These tiles were such poor heat conductors that you could hold one by the edges while it was still red hot and not get burned. Each of the 24,300 tiles covering Discovery has its own unique identification number. No two tiles were alike. The small white circle in the center of each tile is a reference mark that allowed automated machines to spray waterproofing sealant on each tile. This makes sense when we remember that space shuttles launched from Kennedy Space Center in wet, tropical Florida. As we continue to make our way down the right side of Discovery, we get a good view of the crew hatch. This is the vehicle entry point for astronauts. Discovery routinely carried 7 to 8 astronauts into orbit for up to 2 weeks at a time. More astronauts have flown on Discovery than any other orbiter. A total of 251 astronauts have hitched a ride to orbit. As we look to the top of Discovery, we see the payload bay doors. The orbiters were essentially space trucks hauling crews and cargo to space. The payload bay of Discovery is 60 feet long and 15 feet wide. Roughly, objects the size of yellow school buses could be taken to space and back. On each orbiter, a special robotic arm was installed to help lift satellites out of the payload bay. These important pieces of space hardware were provided by Canada as contributions to the space transportation system. This robotic arm came to be known as the Canadarm. It's fun to note that on Earth, the Canadarm could not even lift its own weight, but in space, it could lift large objects out of the payload bay with ease. The tracking data relay satellite shown hanging above Discovery is a good example of the size of an object that can be carried to space aboard Discovery. It can be lifted out and launched into orbit. Moving down the right wing, we can see the leading edges of the wings covered in a gray material. This gray material is called reinforced carbon-carbon, or RCC. The orbiter nose and leading edges of the wings bore the brunt of re-entry heating due to friction with the steadily thickening air. The orbiter nose and leading edges of the wings could heat up to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot. As we continue to walk around Discovery, heading to the rear or aft of the orbiter, we encounter a display case containing the many concept models of what the space shuttle may have looked like. Many different aerospace companies submitted proposals to build orbiters. Rockwell International Company won the bid. Looking under the wing, we see a patchwork of tiles. Some tiles look blacker than others. This is because tiles were replaced for one reason or another. On each mission, on average, 30 to 40 tiles were replaced. Continuing on and looking up, we see the Orbital Maneuvering System pod. There are two Orbital Maneuvering System pods, one on each side of the vertical stabilizer. These small engines are used to adjust the attitude or positioning of the orbiter while in orbit. Continuing and looking up, we see three orbiter main engines. The Space Shuttle main engines are a marvel of technology. They are the most powerful liquid-fueled engines in the world. When working together, they can produce over 1 million pounds of thrust. Each Space Shuttle main engine is reusable. Turning around, we land on the Space Lab module. This laboratory module was built by the European Space Agency and flew inside the cargo bay on 22 space missions. Space Lab provided the facilities to conduct numerous scientific investigations on a variety of subjects. Turning back, we see the underside of the orbiter covered with black tiles. We see its landing gear down. Also visible are the attachment points for the external tank to provide fuel, very cold liquid hydrogen, and the oxidizer, very cold liquid oxygen. These two are mixed together in the Space Shuttle main engines and burned to create thrust. It's fun to note that most of the smoke of a shuttle launch is actually steam. Remember, hydrogen and oxygen combined to make water after all. I sure hope you've enjoyed our walk to and around Discovery, as much as I have enjoyed showing you one of the newest national treasures here at the National Air and Space Museum Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center. This video does not do Discovery justice. I hope you will come discover Discovery for yourselves. Many thanks for watching, and warm regards.